G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. In Los Angeles, United States. Thanks for your time today, Jake.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. Maria from Podcast Cola put us in touch. They've sent us some great guests in the past, so really appreciate your time.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, I do a couple of these and it's always fun, yeah.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So I run Krete. It is 30-second skincare for guys. We sell very high-end products for a reasonable price that conquer everything from dry skin, signs of aging, wrinkles, redness. It started from, I'll get into it, a scar from a skiing accident that I had, and I learned from the ground up what skincare actually is, how to avoid bad chemicals, what things actually work, what is BS marketing, and then also just how to sell to guys, which we were completely left out of having nice skin. I mean, the industry itself is called the beauty industry. Like even going to conferences on the business side of things, it's not an industry for guys. So it's like, well, putting something on your face and looking good, I don't think that's for men or women. I think that's for someone with a face. So for me, it was breaking it down and having it sell to guys.
Yep. And how did you start out?
Started out really out of necessity. Once I learned about these products from the scar, I had to, it's on my nose. You can't really hide it. So I had to learn about concealer. It was the first product where I was like, well, I don't know where to get it. Went into Sephora. That was where I started learning about other products that might work, things like hyaluronic acid serums, certain types of facial cleansers instead of washing your face with a bar of soap. The problem is there's 8,000 million products there, and they're asking me questions like, do I want to contour, brighten, or beautify? I'm like, I don't even want to be here. Just can I get like the 2 or 3 products that I need to actually have healthier skin, not to do this whole makeup routine, and get out of here? And so, yeah, I started by figuring out the actual products that I needed to that would work with a scar on my nose, that wouldn't harm it, that would protect me from sun damage. And yeah, then realized that those products should be packaged for guys in a simpler way, and some of the formulas be enhanced more for male skin. I looked at formulators. They're 20 to 30 grand to make a formula. They try to own the intellectual property. They take 9 to 18 months to make a formula. And I said, like, screw that. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous audacity for me to think, yeah, I'll just learn chemistry and formulate in my, apartment's second room. But I did. I bought beakers. I bought precision scales. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, taught myself the fundamentals of making like low-level skincare chemistry. And I formulated our first 2 products myself in about 2 months, made 500 iterations. Those are 2 of the products that we sell today, and they sell like absolute crazy. We get no returns. And so now I work with formulators to expand our line. But yeah, it was really hands-on out of necessity, because the industry was just stuck in the 80s. No one likes to move fast. No one likes to innovate. No one likes to develop. And so coming from a software development background, that's just not how I do things. I like to do fast prototypes and get it out there. And they're like, I made 10 prototypes of formulas before they would even answer my email about maybe starting to work together.
So what year did you start?
I started in 2019, like with initial toying around the idea and business models and everything. And I formulated the first product in 2019. Yep. The issue was, late 2019 became early 2020, which was when the global lockdowns happened. And the specific packaging and componentry we were using was used globally for hand sanitizer. So we just could not get the pumps and bottles, nor did we really want to, because it's like, well, if they're being used for hand sanitizer, like that's pretty reasonable. So we worked on a bunch of formulas, the brand, the website. We really got a lot of that in order. But it wasn't until kind of mid 2021 that we were able to start actually producing and recording people and things like that kind of restarted. So there was like a 2-year pause, year and a half really pause of like developing the brand, the packaging and things like that, but unable to sell because we just couldn't get inventory.
Yep, right. And how old were you in 2019 when you started this business?
29.
29. Maybe go back to the start, if university, and then any jobs after that, and you decided to jump out into your own business.
It's interesting because you would think someone who studied econ and math at Penn and was at like the top of I studied, I got good grades at a good school. I've literally never used my resume and applied for a job. I've never had it. I had internships in like unpaid internships in college at Universal Music Group and a sports agency and things like that. Um, I've never used my degree. I had my software company that I started and we raised money a few months after I graduated college. And I ran that for about 6-7 years. Yeah, about 6 or 7 years. And then that ended up turning into something pretty good. And then I have someone else managing that. Started a shoe company, which I then sold after about 9 months to a year. We were acquired for our IP, which is great because that never even needed to go to market. We were just kind of bought out. And then I started Krete the next day. So I've always been doing this. And people say, oh, it's supposed to be like, it must be amazing. You make your own schedule. I'm like, yes, I do, but it's also 24/7.
Hmm.
So, I can decide to not work for 2 days, but I'm the only person I'm hurting with that because I'm the one that owns the thing I'm working on. So it's empowering to do that. I've always done my own thing and you have to be very disciplined. So you're not just making yourself feel good with authority, but you're actually executing with results.
And the software company, what did that do? What product or service did it provide? Yeah.
So graduated in 2012, and we were really focused on the rise of social media. 2006, 7, 8, that was when Facebook on like desktop was a big thing. So then like 2009, 10, 11, and 12 was when more mobile face things, mobile browsers, but mobile apps started coming out. So Snapchat was new, Instagram was just expanding. I don't even think Tinder was out yet. Might have been brand new. So we're talking about the early days of social media and dating and communication apps. So we built a few apps, one of which was a social polling app. You ask your friends, hey, I want to do this, and you send it out because that wasn't the thing. There was no like iMessage polling or Facebook Messenger polling, so that just didn't exist. So that did pretty well, and then we turned that into a JavaScript app that plugged into websites so that you could live ask your friends about the images you're seeing on the screen and basically ask them about what to buy. So if you liked, the red sneakers or the blue sneakers, you ask your friends, you text it to them, they vote, and the results come up live. A lot of plugins and things like that really gave me a large knowledge of e-commerce, website funnels, conversion, social media marketing and things like that. So that was where I kind of learned about funnels. And then moving into the shoe company, which was very interesting. When I sold it, I signed some NDAs, so I can kind of, let's just say, it did some interesting things where your shoes made you money as you walked. It was kind of gimmicky, and yeah, it was a crypto inspired something. So that was the marketing gimmick to get us out there for free earned media, and that taught me a lot about physical goods, manufacturing in California, which is a pain, and fulfillment, packaging. And then so with Krete, once I sold the shoe company, I started Krete the next day because I had the idea, and I said, well, if I put the other two companies' knowledge bases together, there you go. I think I can probably start a direct to consumer company.
What ended up happening with the software company? Did you end up selling that, or was that still going?
I sold a large piece of that. Someone is managing it right now, so I have to just check in occasionally. Yep. We've kind of built some apps and plugins that are pretty timeless. We were actually ahead of the curve when we first built that like social polling app that goes live in the websites. Companies they weren't ready. Now everything is digital, everything's about an experience. And so now it's like, it's funny because it's years later and we have to do less to sell it more. So it's pretty great.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, that's just basically, we have our suite of products. We're not developing new ones and we just kind of sell that. And so it's essentially like a sales team that just pushes that.
Yep. And maybe tell the audience about the genesis of Krete, what happened. We're both skiers. I've had a couple of near misses myself, but you sound like you had quite a big one.
Yeah, I had a bunch of near misses my whole life. I used to do cliff jumping and all that crazy stuff when you're like 10, 12 years old and you're made of rubber and it doesn't matter. You can fly into a tree and be fine. So this was January 2nd, 2017. So, it's actually a while ago at this point. It's kind of interesting. I still think of the scar as a new thing, but I guess it's 6.5 years old. So I was skiing down the mountain on a blue at the end of the day. I hit some ice, my ski pops off, and while I'm still standing, hits me, just like swords me in the face.
Wow.
I have helmet and goggles on, so like if it had hit me here, would have been fine. So it just basically cuts my nose open like
Wow.
entirely. It's
Mm.
pretty brutal. I was on the mountain alone because it's at the end of the day. I was skiing in. Um, and yeah, like I said, it just any other part, it wouldn't have hurt me, but it hit the one part that obviously sticks out. And so I had to call, I said, "Hey Siri, call 911." Actually, I need to make sure my phone doesn't. Sometimes when I say that, my
Yeah.
little phone hears it and does it. It's like, oh no. So
Yeah.
it does work because my hands were so frostbitten from like the snow
Mm.
and ice and everything. So it worked. Ski patrol came, picked me up, tobogganed me down in that little like coffin thing where you like zipped up. Had to get stitches and I had to get real serious. It's right in your face. You can't cover it. There is no, oh yeah, let me just do my hair a little differently. Let me cover it. So I had to learn about hyaluronic acid serum, mineral based SPF 30 minimum, sun care, sun damage, microneedling, PRP, V beam lasering to reduce redness, conceal, like things that like I didn't know. I went to CVS and you buy a body wash and I wash my face with it because I don't care. Like that was who I was. Turns out you really shouldn't do that because all these chemicals are like unbelievably toxic and poisonous. They're just cheap and smell good, so they put them in whatever. And nobody really can read an ingredients label, so they figure no one's going to know. So I had to learn how to read the ingredients labels and I realized, wow, everything in all this stuff is poisonous. And the couple of products I found that were good still would usually have some kind of crap in them or they wouldn't be as effective because they would put something in there that just let them market it better as opposed to actually have it perform better. So I that's not my personality. I'm more of an engineer and I wanted to actually engineer products that were flawless. And we did. So now we sell really well. And our customers basically never leave. Once we get you, you love us so much that we don't have to do any more work. It's great.
It's a good product too, obviously, because repeat purchases. Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the last 4 years?
Um, well, I've self-funded it my for its entire existence. So I don't actually share revenue because I just am in the fortunate place to not need to. But it's significant and growing, which is nice. We spend $1 and we make a lot more than $1, so that's also good. That's why we're growing. As far as some things like retention, we have like a 6% churn rate with our subscribers, basically people, and it's monthly, which is pretty intense.
Yep.
A bottle of something for $30, well, $29 every month is, I mean, that's like way more than Netflix, and that lets you watch any show in the world. But people like to look good. People like to get rid of their skin issues. And it's also partially a health and confidence thing. So, kind of a mental health thing. If you look good and feel good, there's no substitute for that. So, yeah, nobody churns. Again, these are the products I formulated myself. We kind of made 200 versions of them and we put them through the ringer. And so, we're launching our concealer in about a month and then potentially 4 additional products by the end of the year. And let me tell you, my formulators are sick of hearing from me because I'm like, it's 99% there, guys. It needs to foam a little bit differently so it actually cleans this too, you know?
Great. Sounds like you're very thorough and methodical, particularly being an engineer.
Yeah. I would say yes.
And what about number of full-time team members you started with and where you're at now?
It started as just me, and then I worked with my brother and a designer to do our brand guide to see what we could do, see what. But I really vetted the business. I looked at skincare. I said, okay, it's low regulation, super high margins, easy to fulfill. For us, it costs only a couple dollars. We fulfill it all out of Southern California. It's all manufactured in California too. Businesses do not do that, but because our margins are so good and because there's a huge infrastructure for skincare and fulfillment and things like that. In Southern California, it's doable, which means I can go drive to our factory to inspect it. I can do that. So the first couple people that were brought on were, part-time designer, things like that. Then I brought on a developer full-time who I knew from the software company, and we built the website and a bunch of tools. And that was what really our competitive advantage was at the beginning, was our website converted incredibly well. Because I built so many of them and I built tools for them that with this specific person for 6 years or whatever. So when it came time to my website, it was going to be as good because I was going to use everything I could possibly think of and figure out how to put it all in the box that was our website. And then we grew. A lot of people came on part-time, and because, if I want to spend $2,000 a month on Facebook ads, I don't need that many ads. And then now we're spending, well, God knows more than that. So we need a lot more ads. So the person who was doing our ads went from part-time to full-time. It was a lot of that. And, now we have developer, designer, head of growth, ads and content, who will eventually manage our social media, Google and email. We have an agency that does our Amazon and fulfillment, and it just kind of expands as you need something. When we want to do influencer marketing, I'll probably at this point hire a full-time influencer marketing person. So
yeah,
it's as needed. And I kind of view it as everyone needs to pay for themselves as a minimum.
And so what number of full-time equivalents would you have now?
Probably 5 to 7.
Yep.
If you took the part-time people and kind of glued them together, it would be around 5 to 7. And then a few agencies in there too that, they just get their job done, or Amazon and Google, like they just work. I don't know how long it takes them. Kind of not my problem. They have their monthly fee and the percentage of the sales, and it's okay. It works for us.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
The honest answer is I haven't yet. We have a lot of wins, but success to me is when we spend $1 and make $5 within 30, something so ludicrous that it's like you're a unicorn level, or someone that comes in and acquires us for 9 figures or something. That's the goal. So anything short of that, I celebrate the wins, but I don't get too excited or overwhelmed by them. I mean, we had a huge breakthrough 2 days ago with one of our new products where we figured exactly how it's going to work and got the supplier and got him down 50% on his price. Those are big wins. Those are big things. We celebrated that for 20 minutes. And then it was like, okay, now let's go design the label. There's more work. It's not done. Even when that product launches, is it selling? We still have to report at. There's so much, and I'm too used to the amount of work anything takes to build. We do celebrate along the way, but yeah, I mean, you can always do better. So that's kind of my real answer. I mean, a lot of people are like, you're doing really well. I'm like, yeah, but I want more. So I don't know.
What does success look like to you?
When I don't have to, So I have a phrase that's accountability for all things at all times. Everyone in the company who I hire believes in that. And so I hire very slowly and I really test people before. And then once you're on the team, you stay on forever. No one's ever quit because they get it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of being, accountable for your actions, making sure you're contributing. And by accountability, you can make mistakes. That's totally fine. The problem is if you're not experimenting enough, or if you're not working hard enough, or you're not communicating well enough. That's what I mean. So that is very challenging. Success to me is when I figured out enough systems that are automated or outsourced to people who I can fully trust, where I don't have to be that level of grindiness all the time, which I've been for years.
Yeah. Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
I would say avoid things that are just money pits that'll just set your money on fire. So if you want to do Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever ads, find someone who can try it for cheap. Everything you do has to be tried for cheap first to make sure, because again, you have to hire the people. We have to hire the people who record. We have to get the editing, whatever, all of that. We run an ad. It's 50% it works, 50% it doesn't. And we might not even know that before we put a couple $1,000 behind an ad. Okay, all of a sudden you spent like 4 grand and something flopped. Like things can get expensive real fast with paid media. So try to test things smaller. Things can get very expensive fast if you go big on inventory for a product and then it doesn't sell super well or it has a short expiration date. And so it's a lot easier to save money than it is to make money at the beginning. So that's like a general rule of ours. It's like, how can we test this with the least time and money spent to make sure if it's the actual right direction? It's basically agile development, but in a more theoretical, like not theoretical, in a more practical sense for product development, for ad development, anything. Yeah.
And how did you fund the business?
Thankfully I did well with my other businesses, everything from the original tutoring money that I put into, like Apple stock in Amazon, you know, a long time ago to uh I don't know, I'm not a brilliant investor, but I would say I'm a wise investor in that I have an understanding of risk when you buy when things are low and when they go up, actually have the balls to sell them.
Yep.
That's the thing that I would say I was the best at. I did some stuff in crypto, did some stuff in other things. I was like, this is okay. I had a number. It's larger than that number. I won. Okay, I'm going to sell. A couple months later, things collapsed. Like, well, okay. So there's that, the shoe company and a few other things. I've done a lot of consulting. So it's never been a normal way to make money for me, but yeah, thankfully it put me in a position where I got to self-fund Krete, which is, you
If
know, nice now. At this point that we're winning, it's nice. But
Yeah.
for a while it was interesting, let's say.
Yeah. So no, you haven't had to take investors on, it's just yourself.
Up to this point, that's correct. Yeah.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I would do this industry again. I think that I understand it really well. Switching industry, any industry you go into is saturated. What am I going to do? Like a tequila brand, a water brand, another app? Like if it's an industry that can make people money, smart people try to innovate in it. I think that I understand how to be better from everything from a production and logistics side to our marketing and our team is better than like other larger companies that are 100 times larger than us. We're going to catch up to them, or maybe they acquire us someday. So I like this industry. I think it is ripe for disruption. And I think that the people who are also trying to disrupt it, they're not very far ahead of us, if they're even ahead of us at all. Other industries, you do something in software, Google probably has a patent for it that'll stop you anyway.
Yeah. Can you
So,
outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so audience can learn from it?
yeah. There was definitely an inflection point last year where we started doing a lot and things started picking up the pace, and I didn't have the team to do it, and I ended up doing it, and I was kind of going like working myself crazy. And so yeah, it's the Napoleon thing of invading Russia, or the Germans did it too. It's like sometimes if you expand too fast beyond your current resources, and resources can be time, attention, energy, team, um it's not that it didn't turn out well. I got through it. It's just I was probably the least healthy I've been in a long time. I wasn't sleeping well, I wasn't exercising, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was definitely the hardest part. I mean, I was like designing ads from 7 to 9 a.m., like static ads. And then from 9 a.m. onward, I was doing website stuff. And then I was in the lab personally formulating it was just, I was switching off 19 things. It was driving me kind of nuts. So it was fine when we were selling a tenth of that because we didn't have to manufacture, or when we were developing one product, not 8 at a time. So that was it. We tried to expand really fast and it all fell on me. And now this year I have the people to take over a lot of those jobs, and it's, oh my God, it's like night and day. I'm not even the same person I was last year. As far as if you met me, I would have been like an exhausted version. Yeah.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think that being generally well-rounded and connecting everything is one of my skills. I needed to learn how to hire amazing people who I trust and don't have to micromanage. I would say that management was the main thing. I had a tendency to write 5 pages of instructions to everyone to do a simple task. So learning how to not do that while still maintaining a full amount of oversight and information was definitely the thing. Because like no one wants to read, they're the expert. I hired them because they know what they're doing. And in theory, if I hired them officially full time, then I vetted them enough to know what they're doing. Either they've been working with me for 3 months part time, and I see you're killing it. Let's go. So yeah, it was really just saying like, right now I don't write our emails. I used to have to read every single one. I don't read any of them anymore because I have a copywriter who's great. I have an email designer and developer, and I have a strategy guy, and like it's their job to do it. If I was reading every email, I wouldn't have time to do a million other things. So it's delegation correctly. That was the hardest thing.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
Um, there's always a fucking problem. There's always growing pains. I mean, you trade off problems. Being an entrepreneur is trading problem A, you solve it just so you can start solving problem B.
Hmm.
It's never, because you can always do more. Let's say we're spending $1 and making two in the same, like on this. Okay, great. Can we get to three? Okay, we're recording our ads and we're getting 5 ads out a week. Can we get 8?
Hmm.
Would 8 even be good? Okay, AI is coming and it's crazy. How do we incorporate that? Okay, good. I'm on Adobe Podcast. I'm on Dolly 2. I'm on ChatGPT. Like, we're talking about SEO with people. How do we do SEO when every article written now is just a ChatGPT article?
Hmm.
Is it even worth it? Is Google about to like skip? It's constantly figuring out the new thing. And so my philosophy on how to handle that is build things rock solid so that they can, like, our Amazon flow is amazing. Our funnel from Facebook and Instagram to our website to our emails is amazing. I have the right people to be constantly monitoring, analyzing, and improving them too. Now it's on for me to the next problem. Let's go from 2 to 7 products this year.
Hmm.
Okay, good. That'll have fulfillment, packaging, warning labels, instructions, design, whatever. So yeah, it's that's the hardest thing about rapid growth is keeping that high level of quality across all things when you're doing more things.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I mean, it's like a sport. It's fun. It's like, you see Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan in the gym at 6 a.m. They're not just doing it for the money or the fame. They are crazy people and they like it. This is my sport. This is my purpose. I get up in the day to build something. And it's getting built. This crazy, weird idea about concealer for dudes that I had, I don't know, like 6 years ago or 5 years ago is like happening. It's like a real thing. Like I use our concealer. It's launching in a month. Obviously, I have the prototypes early. I use it every day. My skin is nicer than it used to be because of our products. It's like, that's cool. I see people on the street. I say, yeah, I run Krete. And they're like, oh, I just bought some. Like, that's that started happening. It's like, okay, I don't know. It's like kind of winning a championship for me. It's like, it's a sport.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Um, Quality and results over everything. I kind of knew that going in, but like internalizing that, as a manager, if I say an idea and it sucks, my team will tell me that's bad. Like they don't care. Like, great. I don't want to have an ego that it's my idea. So it's really kind of making sure that you create a system where the best ideas win and that it's not about ego and things like that. Um, because if Krete is $100 million company in 2 years from now, and I'm the CEO and founder, that's how I win. It's not that on a Tuesday afternoon, my shitty design was actually the designer didn't have the balls to tell me it sucked. And so we did worse because of it.
Yeah.
So it's having your eyes on the prize about what winning actually looks like, and then humbling yourself and doing everything to empower the people around you. Like I always tell everyone that works for me when they have an important job, I'm like, look, man, I work for you now. What can I do to like have you edit this ad faster? Do you need me to like tell everyone to stop bothering you? Do you need me to record audio and text it to, like whatever? So it's those kinds of things.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Constant learning, like constant learning. And it doesn't have to be like reading books left and right. It's just like if you need to know something, Google it and watch a YouTube video on it and become slightly less ignorant on important topics all the time. If I didn't know about fulfillment, if I hadn't looked up stamps, this messed around with stamps.com to know it, like I wouldn't have been able to negotiate the deals we have with our fulfillment center, which, ends up saving us a couple percent of margin and gets our products out the door the same day and fulfilled to Southern California the next day. Some people order it on a Monday morning, they get it on a Tuesday afternoon. That's like Amazon level stuff. And we're like, obviously not Amazon. So it's that kind of thing. Like learn at least a minimum amount about everything in your company. And then, you know, read marketing books, listen to YouTube videos, watch TikTok videos about AI. I do that. I'm like scrolling through. I see something. It's Adobe Podcast. I learn a new tool. I tell my ads guy to do this. All of a sudden, we're using it. It's like a game changer for us. So, constant learning. Again, that's where the difficulty of growing is. It's like there's always something to do.
Jump over to growersmallbusiness.com and leave your details to get a short 2-minute email I send on Fridays to help small business owners like you become better leaders. I include some reading or professional development resources I've discovered in the last week.
Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yes. I'll go with the losses first because they're probably funnier. We do keep our hiring losses to a minimum. Every single person, I interview them multiple times. I talk to them first because I've made myself at least minorly less ignorant on the subject that I'm inevitably hiring for. If I'm hiring an email person, I'll go watch a few videos about email marketing. I'll poke around in Klaviyo. I'll understand what a win-back automation is. Then when I talk to them, if they're not saying the right things, I have a general idea. If I like them, good. Second call with my developer, my head of growth, and my head of branding. And like, let's see, we like them. We give them a 1 month trial at like a reduced rate. Usually, they're willing to do that to prove themselves. And then we give them as if they're a full-time employee, like here's the work. And so we see it. So the thing is, we hired like 5 email marketers, and that's the only job we couldn't get right. We now have our person. It was 5 in a row where we do a 1 month trial. They were great. Month 2 came around and they just like disappeared. And they just like were not the person we thought. Every other job, when we follow that process from like computer vision, data, whatever it is, technical to part-time designer, if they made it through the first month, they were good for years with us. Email, I don't know what it is about that specific industry or that specific channel, but it was the flakiest people I've ever. So we almost gave up on email because we couldn't find someone. And I was just like, no, we need email. Just close our eyes and keep doing it until we get someone. But yeah, that hiring process eliminates a lot of people's interest in working for us off the bat. And that's fine because, again, accountability for all things at all time. If you're not kind of like, if this isn't your sport and you're not trying to be an NBA player but for building an e-commerce company, then you're not going to fit in because it's not that easy to work with me, but it's also incredibly easy because we get results.
Yeah.
So
what are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Clarity of communication and authenticity. If you find people that already, you're not going to get someone to buy into a culture and change. You get people to buy into your culture and live it if they already kind of have that. So I determined that I wanted Krete to be me. I thought that I was, a little bit funny, a little snarky, very detailed, whatever. And so that was going to be our culture. It's very loose, it's very funny. People can curse, they can make fun of each other up to a certain extent. Obviously has to maintain professional.
Yeah.
But like our calls are not boring. Like I will just say, if we're 20 minutes into a call and I'm talking, I'm like, I'm really fucking boring, guys. So like, I'm just going to summarize this for you in a Slack message after, because I think like having 5 people on a call for an hour is 5 hours of time. This is like I'm droning on, or if someone's telling a story, it's like it's it just kind of, I found people who operate like me and operate well with me, and then try to be a better version of me. I used to write way too long paragraphs and things like that. So I had some of our team members help me improve that. But yeah, it's a culture of like, again, accountability and quality and results over everything, results over ego.
And tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Well, I didn't always handle balance. So which is was last year. Last year I was working all the time and I let things slip. And so I needed to kind of engineer my life as if it was a product or service, you know. I needed to say, okay, I'm waking up at this time and my first behavior is this and it takes 30 minutes. Could I outsource that? No, let's say it was customer service. It was taking 30 minutes every morning and 30 minutes before I went to sleep to answer emails. Okay, found someone pretty cheap, virtual assistant kind of stuff, like to answer our emails. 99% of them were one of like 4 specific subjects, like, hey, I forgot to cancel my subscription, or my bottle never came. I wrote the whatever. I spent about probably 10 hours figuring out how to automate that, maybe 15 hours. Boom, I got an hour back in my day. I did that with about 4 or 5 specific things that were time sucks, you know, whether it was approving our ads, writing our email copy, and I just kind of logistically got my time back, and that was it. From that, because I always had the discipline to go to the gym and eat better and whatever, it was really about I just didn't have the time. And shifting gears into 18 things is hard. Now I'm shifting gears into 9 things with more time. It's like, okay, you know, I'm still working a lot of weekends, but you know, it's not every second of every day with no break in sight. It's now many seconds of most days with some breaks in sight.
And how much professional development have you invested in yourself? Sounds like you're a lot. You're a big advocate of this.
Constant for my entire life. I don't know. Like I always think I can do better. I do Duolingo every day to try to keep being fluent in Spanish. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like, you know, constantly learning. I got fluent in Spanish in 2010 when I went abroad to Madrid in college. I lost a lot of it after, and I just said, you know what, this is stupid. If I do 10 minutes of Spanish a day, I'll probably be like decent. I'm on day like 780 in a row now, and I'm like, you can drop me off in Mexico, I'll be fine. Like Spain or wherever. So
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
yes, but in an abstract sense, I have a couple of advisors who help me. I usually keep it to pretty practical knowledge. I view everything I read and search as, you know, I read a Peter Thiel book. I mean,
Yep.
how is he not a mentor? I'm taking his principles and his stories and, you know, or I read an autobiography of Steve Jobs or, you know, or whoever. I don't know. I'm not necessarily taking life advice about Steve Jobs, but
Yep.
yeah, I just, when I hear a good idea, I try to implement it. And good ideas are just that. They're ideas. They don't need to be told to you by a father figure mentor who was like, you can just get it from a book. You can get it from a podcast. You can get it from a TikTok video that you were watching when you were looking for dachshund videos, you know, whatever. I like dachshunds, but yeah.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
I have a board of advisors. Being self-funded, I just don't have to have a board of directors. I'm the chairman. I'm not, I guess I'm not because we don't have a chair. But yeah, I'm a CEO, founder, president, whatever title, overlord I want to say. But yeah, I have advisors because um, they have specific industry expertise and connections. And again, I needed people whose job wasn't to develop a website, but whose job was to tell me about business development and ideas. And if I say, hey, I think doing this, and the one guy owns an influencer agency, he goes like, yeah, influencers are just not going to do that. So I'm like, okay, next idea. So, you know, I view them as kind of a part of the team. It's just more on the like high level ideas side as opposed to the lower level like execution.
Now, you're one of the few I've had on, Jake, that's exited a business. Any advice for anyone listening thinking about exiting one day?
Oh yeah, one, own your IP, A to Z. Like if you don't own your trademarks, formulas, whatever, you're gonna get deep in a thing, and they're gonna go, "Wait, you don't own that?" Like there are stories like Honest Company and other things where I think like big conglomerates who are going to acquire them got deep into due diligence. They offered them half their valuation, $1.5 billion down to 700 million. Like, you know, I'm not even talking about at that level. That's just an example. So the first is own your intellectual property. You know, we own our international trademarks, we own our formulas. You would not believe the number of formulators who turn me down because I said we need to outright own our formulas. I'll even pay a fee up front for it at this point. They're like, no, because they want to own your formula so that you can never leave them as a manufacturer. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I had to probably go to 15 to 20 places. That's 15 to 20 emails, introductions, calls, deep into it, negotiations. It was probably a week or two, like 80 hours of my time to find the people we know. Anyway, that's number one. The second is whoever's acquiring you doesn't necessarily, is not going to actually pull the trigger at the end. So many deals fall through at the 11th hour. Sometimes because things just happen, they lowball you, you want more, your board of directors says no, different offer comes in. Sometimes it's because they were just kind of pretending to buy you so they could run due diligence on you and learn all your secrets and crush you in competition. I've heard of, I have know people who've experienced both of those or whatever. All the things I just said, I know people who've experienced all of them. My business was pre-market and we were bought for our intellectual property, which we owned. It was a pretty straightforward thing. It took like 2 weeks and there was very little negotiating because it was pretty straightforward IP with a pretty straightforward value. So like there wasn't really a lot of complications. You know, we could grow, let's say we're selling 100 million a year. Someone could give us a 3x multiple when we think we should have a 5x multiple. Well, that's $200 million of a difference. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff. But I would say owning your intellectual property, making sure all your legal things are squared away so there's no mysterious founder coming out to sue you for 30%. You know, there's no accidental employees who are employees, but you classified them as contractors with AB5 in California. You know, don't let those things that you could easily prevent screw you.
Right, Jake, we're on our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
You have to forego a lot of things in your life, which potentially include various types of security, whether that is financial security. I was actively putting money into Krete, not taking it out. So not only am I putting money into it, but I'm foregoing a salary. So there's that. You know, I can do that. I'm unmarried. I don't have children. I don't have a dog. You know, I've done well enough to be able to do that and sustain my lifestyle, but there's that. So it can be dangerous, like literally financially dangerous. It can be dangerous for your health and mental well-being. It can be very stressful. There are definitely ups and downs. And the downs are harder to deal with and the ups are fun to celebrate. And yeah, it can be just an absolute time suck. And like, I have one thing I will say about balance. I've always managed to still see friends, have good relationships, see my family. That did not go well. When is working out, sleeping well, but you know, so now I have a balance again. But yeah, it ain't easy. And you know, everyone says you're your own boss, but that's exactly right. You're your own boss. You can decide what you do every day, and what you are doing might be the stupidest thing, might make no sense, might not get you results. So you need to figure out what you're supposed to be doing, how you're going to do it, and then go do it. And it needs to be correct. So not a lot of safety nets. That's why good advisors, good team members, and experience helps a lot.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
Ooh, the most recent one that was like, wow, this is great was $100 million Offers by Alex Hormozy.
Oh, so good, isn't it?
Just so good. It just contextualizes offers and deals and how to tell people, like get people excited about what you're doing. Because you can build the greatest product in the world, and if nobody buys into the deal, then no one.
Yeah, there's so many nuggets in that. Did you read his gym launch book as well? There's great advice in there.
Oh, I want to. I mean, I watch a lot of his like short form content on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram like every day. Frankly, agile development was one of the most important, or sorry, lean startup is what it was called. It was that was just brilliant. I read that in 2013, changed my entire view of everything. Where this is when I was doing the software company. It just was about agile development. And that is like, I don't know how people build anything successful without that methodology. So I would say those lead startup and $100 million offers.
Hormozy's next book's out now, $100 million leads, I think it's called, but the $100 million offers book is amazing. It's got over 12,000 reviews on Amazon. 90% of those are 5-star reviews. And I did the math. It sells about 180,000 books a month.
Yeah. Wow. Well, he does pretty well, and I know why. I listen to him. You know, he does for himself what he tells others to do, and he He's amazing. I really genuinely appreciate his whole attitude. He also just on his short form content, like he'll talk about like how you save money by going to Chipotle and how to order there. And it's just like that's also how I kind of think. It's like I'm trying to optimize everything, whether it's I fill up the water filter, then go microwave something, and then come back. So the water filter and those two things were working at the same time. So it's more, not waiting as long. I think about that kind of stuff constantly. So to listen to a guy who does that stuff from everything from $100 million deals to what to order at Chipotle is right up.
Yeah. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Podcasts, no. Audiobooks, yes. Because audiobooks to me, they are like a million podcasts distilled into one thing. I don't like reading business books as much because you can't do it while you're driving. So I don't drive a lot, but when I have to go to the factory an hour and a half away and then whatever, I do like a 3-4 hour loop. You listen to a book on 1.52x, you can get mostly through a book. So there's a lot Audible, when I'm exercising, 2x speed, and pause it and write some notes, and that's the main thing. And like you can find pretty good books about whatever subject you need. So what was it, podcast, and what was the other thing?
Any online learning tools you use?
YouTube. I taught myself chemistry on YouTube and Google. Yep. I mean, I wish I could be more specific, but it's like how to formulate a hyaluronic acid serum, and I watched 10 videos. And I had generally a 70-80% idea of how to do it from there.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
We keep our stuff organized in Trello and Pivotal Tracker. Project organization is huge. I'll just say that. At the beginning, we just use Google Docs when people have permissions to them. And that gets a little loose pretty quick. And like, where do I look and whatever, and then formatting issues. But, anything that keeps people organized, understanding what's of the highest priority and understanding the difficulty or length that tasks are going to take, broken out pretty granularly, that is absolutely fundamentally important, because I don't need to bother my entire team. I know what they're working on, and I can see that he's going to do something that'll deliver us 5 value with 1 effort, or something with 10 value with 10 effort. Go do the 5 value thing, just get it done, and then go do the other thing. I can just make better decisions at the top when you have stuff that's pretty organized. So I would say any kind of project management tool. Trello is great. Pivotal Tracker is great. There's a couple of them. You can just Google them and they'll come up. They're all pretty similar.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Have fun. I didn't need to tell myself to not quit, because I just don't. I don't know. I just keep pushing, and that's just a personality thing of mine, is like, I just don't take no. I just keep going. It would probably be like, this is going to be, everything you think is going to be twice as hard and take 3 times as long. So get started on a lot of shit like right now. I would also probably say, don't be as afraid of new products in inventory. Because what I didn't realize at the time was that our marketing spend and marketing was going to be 70% of our budget. Inventory is like almost nothing. Our margins are so big that it's almost nothing. So I wish we had developed more products sooner. I didn't, because I wanted to see what we could do with 2 products, which is an agile way to go about it. And now we're trying to get to 7, because it's like the more products we have, the better. So yeah, but yeah, have fun would be. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be rewarding.
Well, thanks very much for your time today, Jake. Really enjoyed our chat. Congratulations on the growth, particularly with Krete, the most recent business, 1 to 17 members over the last 4 years. Really good growth, and obviously the software businesses and the shoe exit as well. So well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We're getting some great iTunes reviews. For those listening, please pop over to your podcast app and leave us a review.